Hey there, homeschool moms. This is Carrie with Any Day Blessings, and on this channel, I share our homeschool adventure with you all, from curriculum flip-throughs to day in the life videos to storing all this stuff and planning all this stuff and all things homeschool. If that interests you, I would love for you to stick around and follow our journey and hit that subscribe button. So go ahead and do that if you have not yet. Go ahead and hit the like button too. I do take a look at the things that you enjoy hearing about and try to make more of that content for you. In today's video, I'm going to talk about something that I hadn't planned on talking about just yet. I kind of expected to talk about this a little later in the homeschool year, maybe a few weeks down the road from now, but I'm starting to already see some of you bring this up, and so I wanted to just make this video now and start the discussion, leave a place for you to ask me questions. I'm certainly not the authority on this. I'm not, the know-it-all or in any way like that. I'm not trying to communicate that, but I have been at this for 6 years. This is our 7th year homeschooling, and I have learned a lot about when to move on and when to change curriculum, when to just make changes within the curriculum that I'm using. I've learned a little bit about that I'd be happy to share with you and see if our experience would help you. And so that's why I'm making this video now, because I'm starting to see some of you, especially some of you first-time homeschoolers, feel like maybe you picked the wrong curriculum, or you may not be cut out for this. I've heard that. I've heard this isn't working, things like that. And I wanted to offer you today just some practical tips on what you can do if your curriculum is not working. When should you give up? When should you just say, okay, this is not the stuff for us. This is not the curriculum for us, and move on to something else. What criteria have I used in the past? I'm going to share that with you. I'm going to share with you how I know when to move on, when I feel like it's been enough time, and hopefully that will be an encouragement to you all. So first of all, I'm just going to give you a couple principles that I have for myself that I've kind of learned over the past 6 years. Number one, I never give up on a curriculum before the 3 to 4 week mark. Never. It's just way too soon, and I really try to give it about 6 to 10 weeks. 6 to 10 weeks, because really I feel like those first few weeks you're really not into a routine of homeschool yet, especially if it's your first year homeschooling. You've got the newness of being teacher mom, you've got the newness of the students being at home, you've got the new of everything when you first start homeschooling. And so there's so much going on there. You can't really discern if it's the curricula or if it's just the major change that's happened in where your kids are doing their schooling. So I personally just kind of have this hard and fast rule. I don't make any changes in curricula unless I've used something for at least 3 to 4 weeks. And then I won't necessarily get a new curricula after that 3 or 4 weeks, but I might make changes within the way that I'm using that curriculum. So for example, let's say math isn't working for me or something, I will use the math as written, as I scheduled it, as I planned it, for a solid 3 to 4 weeks. And then if we're still encountering trouble, math meltdowns, we're not getting lessons done, my son's not retaining concepts, whatever it is, I will start making changes to the way I use that math program. And I will change up maybe the length of assignments. I will change up maybe the number of days we do math. I will maybe change up where we do math, when we do math, that sort of thing. I will make changes without changing the actual course, the actual material. And I'll try that for another 3 weeks. 3 weeks is kind of just my standard of, trying out a change to see if it takes. I think 1 week isn't enough time. I think 2 weeks, again, it's not that it's not enough time, but I just feel like that 3rd week, it just kind of cements things okay, this is working or it's not working, So I feel like that's my minimum of trying a new change. And so I will, after that first 3 to 4 weeks, if things are not working out so good, I'll make changes within the existing program that I'm using. And then what I will do is do that for 3 weeks more. So now we're at the six to 8 week mark, something like that. And if things are still just not clicking, it's causing me frustration, it's causing him frustration. We're both frustrated. We're both dreading the subject. He's not retaining things. I don't feel comfortable in teaching it. Whatever. There's just the continued problem. I will start to look for supplements. I will start to look for other things that we could bring in, and maybe just use that existing program as a skeleton. Like use it for the table of contents of what to go on to next. Maybe use it for some example problems, but bring in a supplement, okay? And I will try that again for my 3 weeks. So you see, I'm a good 10 weeks down the road. Well, no. Yeah, 9 to 12 weeks down the road of doing this, okay? Now, some of you may say, oh, Carrie, 12 weeks of something that's not working, but I've made changes, right? I've made changes along the way. I haven't just kept doing the same thing for 12 weeks. I've made changes at those 3 week increments and said, okay, let's try this little tweak. Let's try, and I give each change a 3 week chance. And by the time I'm to my third tweaking, my third attempt at making this go, I'll say, all right, I gave it the old college try. I tried to be the frugal mom and save the penny and not buy something new. And at that point, if we're still at that 9, 12 week mark and things are just tanking, I will say, okay, it's time to move on. It's time to move on to something else. But I would not ditch what I bought any sooner than that, because I have found that many times at one of those 3 week little change marks, we're golden. It's fine. We made it. We're going to be okay. And I don't have to buy something new. I did that last year with our language arts, and it worked just fine. I was planning to do that same plan this year until my husband had some different ideas and wanted me to try something else. I will link that video below to show you how I made some changes to our language arts last year. But I have found that just making those changes, usually, it's not the curriculum, it's how we're using it. Most times in our home, that's the issue. And it's how I'm teaching it, or when we do it, or how long we take in doing it, or what order we do things in. I mean, it's any number of factors, but it's usually nothing wrong with the books themselves. Now, there have been times when that's been the case, and I have just said, okay, mid-year, we're done with this. I mean, we are done. We've given it this 9, 10, 12 weeks, something like that, and I've made all these little changes along the way, and this just is not working, and that's fine. I'm not saying never change. What I'm saying is to avoid needless spending, because I'm incredibly frugal, to avoid that needless spending, and to avoid the place of always starting something new, always having to get to learn something new, always having to be in the plan mode, okay? You're never in the coast mode because you're always planning something new. To avoid all of that, just try and make little tweaks at that 3 week mark, and give it the good college try of 3 weeks trying any new change. And even just let your kid know that we're going to try it doing this way for just 3 weeks. And if it doesn't work, then we're going to do another change. And let them know that. I let my son know, and he did not like one of the changes that we went into. This was last year with math, when I was trying to figure out what to do with math. And I let him know, listen, bud, Mama's not sure what to do here, but we're gonna make this change, and we're gonna try it for 3 weeks, just 3 weeks. So just hang in there. And he did not like it. He did not care for it, but he knew that I was just trying it for 3 weeks. And at the end of that 3 weeks, I tried another little change. It's okay, we're gonna try this for 3 weeks now. And again, he knew it was just a short time. He was okay with that. So that would be my number one advice to you all about knowing when to change curricula is, have you given it a sufficient amount of time? Have you given it at least 3 to 4 weeks and then made some changes, given it another 3 weeks or so, and moved on, after you've given it a good, 9 weeks of time? I just think that's fair. If you've spent the money on the curriculum, I don't want to make anybody stay with something that's just not a fit for their family. I'm not encouraging you to do that. But I think that a lot of people, I've seen it on YouTube here, I've heard about it from friends in real life. They give up after a week or two, and that's just it makes me feel bad for them because I feel like, oh, you didn't even get to the good parts of that curriculum. You didn't even get to the part where you're kind of coasting because your kids get in a rhythm and they know what to expect next because the curriculum is made in a pattern. So I would just encourage you, before you move on, make those tweaks and give it that try. Now, how do you know when to move on? What criteria have I used to know, okay, this is not working for us? What do we do? There's 3 things that are happening in our home. There's 3 things that are happening that tell me, okay, this is a definite no-go. Number 1, these are things that I assess, like I said, at that 9-week point after I've made several changes along the way. I notice, number 1, the tears start before we even really start the lesson, or the bad attitude starts before we even start the lesson, or there is dread about getting to this subject, before we even open the books. There's just already the negative vibe going on before we even start. Number 2, skills once mastered now become difficult. So when your kid, for example, in math used to be able to do all these other skills, this set of skills, and all of a sudden they can't. Okay? That's a clear sign to me that this approach is perhaps causing confusion. It's causing disinterest. Things that they once mastered, they can no longer do. And I put it like that because I'm not so sure that my son really couldn't do these things. I just think he was so anti this program that his brain shut off. He could not retrieve any information. He was just done. He just totally just did not like this math at all. So there's that. And number 3, the third criteria is I, as the teacher mom, I dread the subject. I don't know how to teach it. I don't know how to get things across to my son. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know what I need for a lesson or what constitutes a lesson, or I don't know where to go for help. I don't know what steps to take next. I don't know how else I can change this to make this work for him. When I reach that point, then I know it's time. It's time to be done. So those are the 3 criteria I use to at that 9-week mark, if we hit any one of those, I'm willing to change curricula because they all have their own level of seriousness and how they affect your homeschool day and how they affect the learning. It's not like we have to meet all 3 of those criteria. It's just if we hit one of those things, then I kind of feel like it's okay. It's okay to change at that point. I've tried it. I've tried making it my own, and we're just not there. So those are the things I wanted to share with you today, is just maybe somewhat of an objective. I know it's still subjective because it's what works in our home, but just some criteria that you could consider for how to wait it out before you give up on a curriculum, and when it's just time to move on, and when it's time to say this isn't for us. And that's okay. And I've done it. So I'm not telling you to never do it. I'm just saying, there's sometimes you got to give things a little bit of a chance and not expect open book, first day 1 for everything to be wonderful and your kid to love this subject all of a sudden, especially if it's one that they've struggled with before. So just, maybe either you or your child needs to adjust some expectations, when you go into a new curriculum or you start off this homeschool journey. You need to adjust your expectations a little bit about what it's actually going to be like, because it is work. It is work, and you are going to come across some friction points and where things aren't going so great. But I just hate to see people waste money when maybe just some minor tweaks could be the fix. All right, I'm going to wrap it up there, and I'd love to hear from you down in the comments below with maybe how you approach this, how you know when to move on, or how you know when something is just not a fit for you, and how you make tweaks to. How long do you give it? When do you just say enough is enough? I'd love to hear all that from you down in the comments, and I will catch you in the next video.